A friend of mine said something very interesting a couple years ago that keeps coming back to me at very odd moments, and this ambush of Zelensky is one of those moments. He said, he's a history teacher, he said, when I look back at history, every major empire has this central cultural masterwork epic story that they hold dear. It's central to their culture. It's a common cultural touchstone. It's so ubiquitous, it's written in their language that if you're studying their architecture or their poetry or their music or their art and you don't know that story, 2/3 of the references go over your head. You can't do it. Think the Epic of Gilgamesh for the Babylonians. Think the collected works of Shakespeare. Think the Iliad. Think the Shahnameh for the Persians. And he said, isn't it interesting that the United States, admittedly an empire, obviously an empire, doesn't have this, doesn't have that common cultural touchstone epic that may even be so powerful to revolutionize the very language itself. But of course we do. Of course we do. We have Star Wars. And I'm not saying this to be funny. Once you think about it, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It is Star Wars. Obviously, it revolutionized storytelling and movie making and cinematic universes, but it spawned a universe, no pun intended, of comic books, graphic novels, books, TV shows. It spanned genres and changed them. It inspired children with costumes, toys, theme parks, invented cosplay, as far as I can tell, inspired music, poetry, and parodies, influenced clothing and hairstyle even, and provides common cultural touchstones, references, puns, fan fiction, memes, and even plays a part in the corporate history of the United States. And one, you can't get away from it. It's that potent mix of inescapable and inspiring, ubiquitous. And so it has incredible cultural power. Now, I wouldn't go so far to say that it determines how we think about the world, but you can see America reflected in some of the characters. And I would argue the most key character is young Luke Skywalker. And that's the way America viewed the world. And it was so inspiring to us in part because of that. We were the youngest member of the crew. We go to help because someone asked for it. You don't question, you just go. There is some guilt, you want to stay home, but listen, all right, we made it easy for you. Both your parents are dead, just go. If other people need to be dragged along, you can promise them with the money to be made. Listen, she has a lot of money, but you just do it. You do it. You want to help? Because helping is the goal. During that time, we've coded the Soviet Union as the empire, as the evil empire, nameless, faceless legions of stormtroopers and black-clad fighter pilots. And we think we're doing the right thing. This period is bookended by World War II and the Gulf War. But within that time, there are concerning exceptions. And it seems as the years pass that they're starting to become the rule. Vietnam, El Salvador, the war in Iraq, Afghanistan. Like, what are we doing anymore? Maybe we're causing more harm than good, and we're traumatized by those experiences. And so then we turn into old Luke Skywalker. And thus, we're given old Luke Skywalker, this grizzled, haggard, traumatized, scared, lost any connection to his friends, old man. And so these reactions to this Zelensky meeting are in those two coded characters. We either react to it like young Luke or react to it like jaded Luke. The young Luke Skywalkers just kind of want to help. They ask for help. It doesn't matter if she said, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? You just go, huh? And you move on, okay? None of that concerns you. Someone needs help. And then the old Luke Skywalkers were so traumatized by their past experiences, have such bountiful power, but so afraid to use it because they're going to use it wrong, that they'll let someone else do it. I guess maybe you could go the full Luke arc. Maybe you project yourself to Ukraine, let the Ukrainians escape, make such a ruckus in the process. I get, maybe we can save Ukraine with TikTok. Maybe that's the lesson. And yeah, there is some merit to the discerning and cautious use of power, but it's important to note what the rest of the universe is doing while Luke is acting like a baby, literally sucking milk from a teat on his island, is they're backsliding into the same fascism. Maybe another way to sort people is there's people who want to be stormtroopers, dress up as stormtroopers, and there's people who want to dress up as rebels of Jedi, because I never got the fandom of wanting to dress up as a stormtrooper. You want to be faceless. You want to be uncustomizable. You want to go to Star Wars Celebration, take a picture with all your friends and your face not to be there. You know, be part of the 501st Legion. But I started to get it. That armor provides this emotional protection that the American left was not able to give young men. The best kept secret, like the most non-secret secret, is that the Star Wars series is not a story about Anakin or Luke or Rey. It's a story about fascism. Now, the sequels were so heavy-handed with it, they keep all the trappings of it. They forget that it was the structure of the Star Wars series, all of which I'm going to talk about now. This is all canon, by the way. The Empire is a human supremacist and male supremacist organization. Virulently so. In fact, the few exceptions to this rule were so extraordinarily gifted, but the experience brought them so much trauma that it led them to be antagonists. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn, Admiral Dala. There's some others. The Empire literally uses pre-existing frictions between alien species in the same star systems, Trandoshan and Wookiee, Quarren and Mon Calamari, to make them fight against each other, to weaken them so they can take members of the species to be in their concentration camps and feed their war machine. The fact that it uses public displays of humiliation and abject terror to save money on control. The harder they grab for power, the more it slips through their fingers. This is all there. And I just, listen, and this wasn't portrayed as a strength. I mean, you can write off Stormtroopers' inability to shoot as part of the plot armor, but like when they're trying to chase Han Solo and Han Solo hides on the back of the bridge, none of them can the ship that size isn't supposed to have a cloaking device. How are we supposed to? None of them can think about it, not even Darth Vader. But so who do they call to think outside the box and chase Han Solo down? They call a bunch of aliens. They call a bunch of alien bounty hunters. And you can hear the contempt on the bridge for aliens in general. You can hear the xenophobia. This was never a strength of the Empire. It is kind of crazy to me. And it is honestly, in hindsight of this video, kind of obvious that Star Wars didn't tell people how to think. But it's quite clear that we've forgotten that Star Wars was really about fascism.